Hi, my name is Mike Quinn, and this is the Ultimate Frontline Leadership Training Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about how a manager should comport themselves at work. A manager should always strive to be the model employee. What that means is they're going to do everything the company says they're supposed to do. So if you're supposed to wear, say, protective goggles when you're making bales back in the baler, then a manager's got to wear those goggles too, because if they don't, nobody else is going to want to do it. If it's not important for a manager to do, why should it be important for them to do something? So another thing, it means like, say, employee parking areas. Now, every company that I've worked for in the last, 20 years has had designated parking areas for employees. Usually it's, kind of further away, so all the good, easy parking can be taken for the customers. So employees are supposed to park in certain areas. That means managers should park in those areas too. If you think that you don't have to park in those areas that the employees have to because, you're important, you're a manager now and you don't want to have to walk that far, blah, 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 whatever, then if you don't think it's important, they're not going to think it's important either. And pretty soon, nobody's parking in that area except for the customers who now have to walk a lot further to get into the store. So, you're spending your credibility every time you make a judgment call on something that the company says you're supposed to do, but you decide it's not really that important. The employees are going to go, oh, well, if that's not important, well, I don't think this is important here either. And they're going to start taking those shortcuts and stuff. They're going to take them for themselves as well. And they're going to start doing it not just on the goggles and not just on the parking, but in other areas as well. So pretty soon, company standards are no longer being followed by employees because managers are not modeling those behaviors. It's really important that if you're a manager, you have to model all the behaviors you want your crew to embody. If it's not important enough for you to do it, they're not going to think it's important enough for them to do it either. This do as I say, not as I do thing, it's never worked. Whenever our parents said, well, just do it because I said so type of thing, we all rolled our eyes. That was not an argument. And so it's not going to be an argument for you not to do it because you're a manager. It didn't work for your parents. It's not going to work for you. That argument does not work. So when a company says you have to do this, you need to do it too. You need to show the employees that this is the correct way to do something. So, and that also goes for, let's say dating. Now, when you work as an employee, pretty much, you meet other employees. Some of them you're going to like and going to want to be friends with. Some of them you're going to really like and maybe you're going to want to have a relationship with them. Well, when you're working with them, you're not supervising them. And so going out with a fellow bartender or a server or, whoever is going to be okay because you're not supervising them. There's no favoritism involved. It's just, relationships. Servers go out with other servers all the time. But when you become a manager, you can no longer do that. The moment you become a manager and you supervise somebody, you cannot be their boyfriend or girlfriend or wife or husband. You cannot promote anything that's going to look like favoritism. When you go out with somebody, the favoritism is going to be just implied. And if you're a supervisor and you're supervising servers and you're going out with a server, all the other servers are going to think, you're giving them favoritism. They're getting that station because, they're your girlfriend, not because they earned it. They've been here a long time, and they're going to start gossiping and talking behind your back, and your credibility is just going to go out the window. They'll do what you say, but they're going to do it resentfully. So this is not a behavior that you're going to want to emulate. And this is not just because this is like the correct thing to say, but I've done it both ways. And I know for sure, for a fact, that doing it the wrong way doesn't lead to a great long-lasting relationship. I went out when I was a manager with a waitress, and we are no longer together. There was just too much pressure. There was just too many things going on that it ruined that relationship. I went out with, right now I'm married for 20 years with somebody who I was a supervisor with, but we didn't start going out until after she left. Then we started going out, and like I said, now we've been together for 20 years. So if the relationship is important to you, and if you think it's going to last, it'll wait for you to no longer work with them. Because I've worked in a bunch of different companies over the last 50 years, and I got to tell you, I've never worked with one company for 50 years. It's been a couple of different companies. So one day you're no longer going to work with that person you think is just a fantastic person, and that's the time you're going to want to go say, hey, you want to go grab some coffee, you want to go do this, you want to go do that, you want to see a movie, whatever. That's when you start making those types of advances, when they're no longer going to be working with you at that company. Then there's not going to be favoritism going on. You're not going to have spent your credibility by just having a good time with somebody, and then, that breaks up, and then somebody else comes along. It's not a winning recipe for a long-lasting relationship. So do it in the right way, and it'll last a lot longer. And you'll also not be alienating all the other people that work in the building with you. So where things are really important, policy says, you have to do this, then you need to do it as well. And when the company policy says the supervisors cannot go out with the people that they're charged with supervising, then there's a reason for it. And you need to make that important as well. You can't just say, whatever justification you have inside your head, because nobody else in the building is going to have that same justification for what you're doing. They're all going to see it completely different, and it's going to hurt your credibility. So strive to be a credible authority. Don't work to destroy your credibility. All right? Okay. I'll see you again next week.